G'day, welcome back. An even shorter video today, just to follow up to yesterday's video on who beat the most chess world champions. There was a question on the comments about was it while they were world champion, and that's one sort of nuance or version of the question which you see talked about on different blogs and so on. So I thought, since I've got the data at hand, no time like the present, and I'd actually go ahead and do that and redo the analysis, not just like Korchnoi beating 9 world champions, looking at whether the players beat the world champions when they're world champion or when they're at their peak. Now, my database is not quite good enough, I think, to work out the dates and so on for when people were world champions. But I'll just say we'll just work with the fact that when they're at their peak. And Tal was world champion 1960, 1961. So I said, well, that's kind of his peak. So basically, I've done the spanning years of when they were world champion. So it could include some candidate games up to when they become world champion. It might include some games just after they have lost the world championship. I mean, Alekhine and Botvinnik have taken the whole period where they go in and out of world championship. So they have that sort of wangle to the way they look at it. And I'm pretty happy with that, because obviously when you're world champion, or around that time you're world champion, you're obviously at your peak, in inverted commas, and that's what I'm trying to get at. Just avoiding the fact that a strong player may have beaten a very young Carlsen, or a strong player might have beaten a very old Botvinnik or Karpov or whatever the case may be. So basically, you've got to have beaten them when they're at the top. I mean, you could expand the range a little bit, probably just thinking about it, maybe during the candidate cycles, if they're really strong in that lead-up period, maybe put it a year or so to either side. Anyway, that's a general idea. So it's just a case of you only get credited with beating them if you beat them when they're at their peak. So let's have a look at the data. Okay, here we are. I've actually changed the microphone here, getting a bit annoyed with my previous one. Let's see how it goes. Now, here's the data. I've done the same thing as yesterday's video, just got the PGN of all the games which world champions played. But this time I've kicked out games if the world champion was not in his peak years, which, as I say, it's the years they were world chess champion inclusive, right? Tal's 60 to 61, Erv's 35 to 37, and so on, and Botvinnik and Alekhine, I've included their whole period. So here we go. We've got a clear winner this time. We've got Michael Botvinnik, right? He was just below the top tier yesterday because he couldn't beat himself, in which case he would be in the top tier. So he has played and beaten 5 world chess champions at their peak. Kappa, Aliekin, Petrosian, Smyslov, and Tal. So that's what that means. This list means that he played Erv and Spassky also at their peak, but he didn't beat them when they were at their peak. So that's the way of interpreting the two versions this time. So I think the main thing to focus on is just the number you've beaten. Spassky, number 2 here, along with Chucky, Topolov, Aronian, and Nepo. Now the thing here is that Spassky, who's he beaten? He's beaten Tal, Petrosian, Fischer. He's the only person who will beaten Fischer, because I checked Petrosian beat Fischer in 71 in the candidates, but obviously, that's not 72. And Karpov, and he's also played a couple of other players. Let's have a look. He played Vlad, couldn't beat him at his peak, and played Kasparov, couldn't beat him at his peak. So that's the way of interpreting that. And the thing to notice actually is it's really rejigged. It's really filtered out the sort of the chaff from the wheat almost, right? It's a bit unfair on some of these players, but you think of who was top last time. It's Korchnoi, right? Well, he'd beaten 9 chess world champions. He's only beaten 6 of them at their peak. He's played 7 of them at the peak and couldn't beat the other 4, but he's only actually beaten 3 at their peak. Karpov, obviously, in the matches late 70s, early 80s, Spassky and Petrosian, right? And what about Keres? Paul Keres, he's way down here. He only beat Alekhine and Botvinnik when they were at their peak. He played Erv, couldn't beat him, and so on. That's just the way of looking at it. And the other guy completely disappeared from this list is Belyavsky. So Belyavsky was... maybe that's what he was doing. He was beating young Magnus, and he was beating old somebody else, and as a result, he didn't really beat anybody when they were, I think, 1 or 2, but he dropped off the list. So you can have a look at the chart here. It shows you all the names there. A lot of recent guys, 3 and 4 wins, because maybe a lot more tournaments. They're playing one another a lot more, so that. Difficult with Magnus, but most of the top players have actually beaten Magnus, so they can tick him off, and he had that 10-year peak period. So that's why it's looking like that. And I've also got the heat map I did. Just FYI, I mean, this is just like about 20 or 30 lines of VBA code just to sort of do the colorization. I'll probably come up with a lot of other sort of charts I want to do like this, so I thought I'd spend the time sort of building another little tool for myself. Now, so you can see, Botvinnik top, he beat Kappa, Alekhine, Smyslov, Tal, and Petrosian while they're at their peak. He played Irv and Spassky while they're at the peak, but couldn't beat either of them. Right, that's the way of interpreting the chart. You can see all the usual suspects, and because there's a much more harder filter, you can see Kappa, Alekhine, Bogolyubov, players like that get a mention on this as well. There's Fischer way down the bottom there. Okay, cool. So that's just a refinement on yesterday's analysis. I thought that's quite an interesting thing to do. I hope you found that interesting, and thank you very much for watching.